Welcome, listeners. Tonight, we are going to take a journey to a beautiful, old mountain lodge. Imagine a place surrounded by tall, snow-covered mountains and thick, green pine trees. This lodge, made of dark, weathered wood with a sloping roof, stands strong and tall against the backdrop of nature. Large windows with rustic shutters face out, letting in the natural light. A stone chimney rises from the side, emitting a thin wisp of smoke. Before we begin our story, let's take a moment to get comfortable in bed. Lie down on your back and feel the softness of your bed beneath you. Gently close your eyes. Take a deep breath in through your nose, and then slowly breathe out through your mouth. Let your body sink into the bed, releasing any tension. Now, imagine you are in a cozy room. The walls are made of warm, wooden beams, and there is a large stone fireplace at one end, with a fire crackling gently. The soft, flickering light from the fire dances on the walls, casting a warm glow. Picture yourself wrapped in a soft, warm blanket, sitting in a comfortable chair by the fireplace. The air is filled with the scent of burning wood and the faint hint of fresh pine from outside. You can hear the gentle crackle of the fire and the occasional pop of the logs. Feel the warmth of the fire on your face and hands. Let the soothing sounds of the fire relax you. Your body feels heavy and warm, completely at ease. Take another deep breath in through your nose and slowly breathe out through your mouth. With each breath, you feel more relaxed, more at peace. Now, you are ready to listen to the story. Let your mind wander to the old mountain lodge, to its cozy rooms and welcoming atmosphere. Imagine the adventures that await within its walls, the friends you will meet, and the comforting routines of daily life there. As you listen, allow yourself to be transported to this serene place. Let the story guide you into a peaceful and restful state, where you can leave behind the worries of the day and drift off into a deep, restful sleep. Take one last deep breath in and slowly breathe out. Now, let the story begin. The old mountain lodge stood tall against the backdrop of snow-covered mountains. The building was made of dark, weathered wood with a sloping roof covered in snow. Large windows framed with rustic shutters faced the front, and a stone chimney rose from the side, emitting a thin wisp of smoke. A stone path led to the front door, lined with small, snow-dusted bushes. The front door was heavy and wooden, with a large iron handle. Inside, the entrance hall was small and dimly lit, with wooden floors that creaked. A wooden bench sat against one wall, and a coat rack stood in the corner, holding old, worn coats. The living room was large and open, with a high ceiling supported by wooden beams. The centerpiece was a large stone fireplace with a wide hearth. The stones were rough and uneven, giving it a rustic look. A thick wooden mantel held an assortment of knickknacks and framed photos. Above the mantel hung an old, faded painting of a mountain landscape. The furniture in the living room was sturdy and practical. There was a large, brown leather sofa facing the fireplace, flanked by 2 matching armchairs. A wooden coffee table sat in front of the sofa, covered with magazines and a few books. Thick, woven rugs in earthy tones covered the wooden floor, adding warmth to the room. Large windows on either side of the fireplace let in natural light, casting a warm glow over the space. The kitchen was small but cozy. Wooden cabinets lined the walls, their surfaces worn smooth by years of use. The countertops were made of dark stone, and a large farmhouse sink sat under a window. A sturdy wooden table with mismatched chairs occupied the center of the room. The kitchen was filled with the scent of old wood and faint traces of past meals. Pots and pans hung from hooks above the stove, and a collection of ceramic jars and canisters lined the shelves. The bedrooms were simple and functional, with wooden floors and walls. The beds were covered with thick, handmade quilts in vibrant colors. Wooden dressers and nightstands, each unique in their design, stood beside the beds. Small lamps with fabric shades provided soft lighting. The windows in each room were framed with simple curtains, allowing views of the surrounding mountains and forests. The bathroom was small and utilitarian. A clawfoot tub stood against one wall, with a shower curtain on a metal rod above it. The sink was set into a wooden vanity, and a mirror hung on the wall above it. The fixtures were old but well maintained, with brass taps and fittings. Clara drove up the winding mountain road, the tires of her car crunching on the gravel. She reached the old mountain lodge and parked her car in front of a wooden gate. Clara walked up the stone path leading to the front door. She pushed the door open and stepped inside. Clara moved into the living room and found an old journal on the coffee table. The cover was worn, and the pages were yellowed with age. She flipped through the journal, seeing entries written in neat, cursive handwriting. The journal detailed the history of the lodge, mentioning family gatherings and celebrations held by the fireplace. One entry caught her attention, describing the fireplace as enchanted, with the power to grant a single wish. Intrigued by the journal, Clara decided to light a fire. She found a stack of firewood next to the fireplace and arranged the logs on the hearth. She used a long match to light the kindling, and soon the fire was crackling and sending warmth into the room. Clara sat on the sofa, watching the flames dance and the logs crackle. The room filled with the soft glow of the fire, casting flickering shadows on the walls. The scent of burning wood mixed with the lodge's natural, earthy smell. Clara felt a sense of peace as she sat there, surrounded by the tangible history and physical warmth of the old mountain lodge. The next morning, Clara woke up early. She stepped out of bed, her feet sinking into the thick, handmade quilt that had slipped to the floor. The room was chilly, and she wrapped a warm robe around herself. She walked to the window and pulled back the simple curtains, The view outside was stunning, with snow-covered mountains and tall, green pine trees stretching as far as she could see. The sky was clear, and the early morning light made the snow glisten. Clara moved to the kitchen. She filled the kettle with water from the large farmhouse sink and placed it on the stove. While waiting for the water to boil, she opened the wooden cabinets and found a ceramic jar filled with tea bags. She selected a tea bag and placed it in a mug, which had a delicate floral pattern. She poured the boiling water into the mug, watching the tea steep and the water change color. After breakfast, Clara decided to explore the small mountain community surrounding the lodge. She dressed warmly in a thick coat, woolen scarf, and sturdy boots. She walked down the stone path and out the wooden gate, following a narrow, winding road that led to the village. The road was lined with tall trees, their branches heavy with snow. The village was small, with a few quaint buildings clustered together. The bakery caught Clara's attention first. The building was made of red brick with large glass windows. A wooden sign above the door read "Bakery" in simple, black letters. The smell of fresh bread and pastries wafted from the open door. Clara stepped inside, feeling the warmth of the oven. The bakery was cozy, with wooden shelves lined with loaves of bread, cakes, and pastries. A counter at the back displayed an assortment of baked goods, and a large metal oven stood behind it, radiating heat. A man with flour-dusted hands and a welcoming smile stood behind the counter. He had short, dark hair and wore an apron over his clothes. Clara admired the arrangement of freshly baked bread, rolls, and pastries on the counter. The loaves were golden brown with crisp crusts, and the pastries were filled with fruit and cream. Clara spent some time in the bakery, learning about the different types of bread and pastries. She observed the man mixing dough in a large wooden bowl, kneading it with practiced movements. The kitchen area behind the counter was filled with the sounds of baking, the hum of the oven, and the clinking of metal utensils. Clara watched as the man shaped the dough into loaves, placing them on baking trays and sliding them into the oven. Later, Clara walked through the village, noting the small stone church with its tall steeple, the general store with its wide porch, and the post office with a red flag on its mailbox. The buildings were all made of stone or wood, blending seamlessly with the natural surroundings. Clara visited the general store, where wooden shelves held an assortment of goods, from canned food to handmade crafts. The storekeeper, an elderly woman with silver hair, greeted Clara with a nod as she moved behind the wooden counter, sorting through a delivery of fresh produce. Clara continued to explore the area, finding a small park with benches and a frozen pond. Children were playing, bundled in warm clothes, their laughter echoing through the crisp air. Nearby, an older couple walked hand in hand along a snow-covered path, their breath visible in the cold air. Returning to the lodge, Clara felt a sense of accomplishment from her morning's exploration. She opened the wooden gate and walked up the stone path, her boots leaving prints in the snow. Inside the lodge, she removed her coat, scarf, and boots, hanging them on the coat rack in the entrance hall. She made her way to the living room, where the remnants of last night's fire still smoldered in the fireplace. Clara added more logs to the hearth, using a long match to reignite the flames. She watched the fire grow, the room warming up as the flames danced. Clara decided to set up a small studio in one of the lodge's sunlit rooms. She chose a room with large windows that faced the mountains. The room had wooden floors and walls, and the light from the windows created a bright, inviting space. She found an old easel in the attic, along with a box of paints and brushes. Clara set up the easel by the window, arranging the paints and brushes on a small table beside it. She placed a blank canvas on the easel, ready to capture the beauty of the surrounding landscape. In the evenings, Clara continued to visit the bakery, enjoying the warmth and delicious scents. She watched the man bake, his movements precise and rhythmic as he mixed, kneaded, and baked. The bakery was filled with the golden glow of the oven, the walls lined with shelves holding ingredients and baking tools. Clara often returned to the lodge with a bag of fresh bread or pastries, savoring the taste and aroma. Her days were filled with painting in the sunlit room, capturing the mountains and forests on canvas. The room became cluttered with finished and unfinished paintings, brushes and paint tubes scattered around. Clara found joy in each brushstroke, the colors blending to create scenes of natural beauty. As the days passed, Clara became more familiar with the village and its residents. She continued to visit the general store, the post office, and the park, becoming a recognizable face in the community. The lodge, with its cozy rooms and inviting fireplace, remained her haven, a place where she could relax and create. Each night, Clara lit a fire in the large stone fireplace, the flames casting a warm glow over the living room. She sat on the brown leather sofa, enjoying the quiet and the comfort of the lodge. The fire crackled, filling the room with the scent of burning wood, and the flickering shadows danced on the walls. Clara's days at the lodge followed a comforting routine. Each morning, she woke up early, wrapped in her warm robe. She walked to the kitchen, filled the kettle with water, and prepared a mug of tea. The kitchen was quiet, the only sounds being the boiling water and the clink of the mug. Clara sipped her tea, savoring the warmth. She continued to visit the village every day. The bakery remained a favorite spot. The bakery's large windows let in plenty of light, and the display counter was always filled with fresh bread and pastries. Clara observed the daily operations, watching the baker mix dough, shape loaves, and slide trays into the oven. The smell of baking bread and the warmth from the oven created a cozy atmosphere. Clara often took a bag of pastries or a loaf of bread back to the lodge. She set the baked goods on the wooden kitchen table, their scent filling the room. Clara enjoyed simple meals with the fresh bread, slicing it thickly and spreading it with butter or jam. In the afternoons, Clara worked in her studio. The sunlit room was bright and inviting, with large windows offering views of the mountains. Her easel stood by the window, and the table beside it was cluttered with paints and brushes. Canvases, both finished and in progress, leaned against the walls. Clara focused on her painting, the brushstrokes capturing the beauty of the landscape. One day, Clara decided to invite some of the villagers to the lodge. She walked to the general store, its shelves filled with an assortment of goods. The storekeeper, with her silver hair and warm smile, helped Clara select items for a gathering. Clara picked out fresh produce, cheese, and meats. She also bought candles to add a warm glow to the living room. Back at the lodge, Clara prepared for the gathering. She arranged the food on the wooden kitchen table, placing cheeses on a wooden board, slicing the meats, and arranging the produce in bowls. She set out plates, glasses, and utensils. Clara lit the candles and placed them around the living room, their soft light complementing the glow from the fireplace. As evening approached, the villagers arrived. They walked up the stone path to the lodge, their boots leaving prints in the snow. Inside, they removed their coats and scarves, hanging them on the coat rack in the entrance hall. The living room filled with the sounds of laughter and conversation. The guests gathered around the large stone fireplace, the flames crackling and casting a warm light. Clara served the food, placing trays on the wooden coffee table in front of the sofa. The villagers helped themselves, filling their plates and glasses. The smell of the fresh bread and meats mingled with the scent of burning wood from the fireplace. The thick, woven rugs provided a soft surface for those sitting on the floor, while others sat on the brown leather sofa and armchairs. The evening continued with shared stories and laughter. The villagers talked about their lives, their work, and their families. Clara listened, her attention focused on their faces and gestures. The room was filled with the sounds of talking, eating, and the occasional crackle from the fireplace. As the night grew late, the guests began to leave. They thanked Clara, putting on their coats and scarves before stepping out into the cold night. Clara walked them to the door, watching as they made their way down the stone path. The village was quiet and peaceful, the snow glistening under the moonlight. Clara returned to the living room. The fire had burned down to glowing embers, casting a dim light. She tidied up the room, collecting empty plates and glasses, and putting away the leftover food. She extinguished the candles, their smoke curling upward. Clara added a few more logs to the fireplace, using a long match to reignite the flames. The room warmed up again, the fire casting flickering shadows on the walls. Clara sat on the brown leather sofa, looking around the living room. The evening had been a success, the lodge filled with warmth and the presence of new friends. Clara continued to host gatherings at the lodge. Each time, she prepared the space, arranging food and lighting candles. The villagers arrived, their faces familiar now, and the evenings were filled with conversation and laughter. The lodge became a place of community, its large stone fireplace the centerpiece of their gatherings. In the afternoons, Clara continued to paint in her sunlit studio. The room remained cluttered with canvases, brushes, and paint tubes. The large windows provided ample light, and the views of the mountains and forests served as constant inspiration. Clara's paintings captured the beauty of the landscape, each brushstroke adding to the vivid scenes. Each night, Clara lit a fire in the fireplace, the flames growing and filling the room with warmth. She sat on the sofa, the soft glow of the fire creating a cozy atmosphere. The scent of burning wood filled the room, mingling with the lingering smells of the evening's gathering. The lodge, with its inviting rooms and welcoming fireplace, had become a place of comfort and connection. As winter turned to spring, the snow around the lodge began to melt. Small patches of green grass appeared among the melting snow, and the trees started to show buds. Clara spent more time outside, enjoying the changing landscape. She walked around the property, noting the small, clear stream that ran nearby, and the birds that had returned to the area. The air was crisp, but the warmth of the sun hinted at the coming spring. Inside the lodge, Clara continued her routine. Each morning, she made tea in the kitchen, the ceramic jar of tea bags always at the ready. She ate simple breakfasts at the wooden kitchen table, enjoying the fresh bread from the bakery. The kitchen remained cozy and inviting, with its wooden cabinets and stone countertops. Clara's studio remained a hub of activity. The sunlit room was bright with natural light, the large windows offering clear views of the mountains and forests. Her easel stood by the window, a new canvas ready for each day's work. The table beside it was cluttered with paints and brushes, the colors vibrant and varied. Finished paintings leaned against the walls, depicting scenes of the changing seasons. Clara visited the village regularly. The bakery was a constant stop, its large windows still showcasing fresh baked goods. The baker continued his daily routine, mixing dough in the large wooden bowl, kneading it on the floured counter, and baking it in the metal oven. The smell of baking bread filled the bakery, and Clara often left with a bag of pastries or a fresh loaf. The general store was another frequent stop. The shelves remained stocked with a variety of goods, from fresh produce to household items. The storekeeper, with her silver hair and kind eyes, always greeted Clara with a nod. Clara purchased what she needed for her gatherings at the lodge, selecting items with care and placing them in a woven basket. As the weather warmed, Clara began hosting outdoor gatherings. She set up tables and chairs in the open area behind the lodge, the ground softening as the snow melted. She arranged food on the tables, placing trays of cheese, meats, and fresh vegetables. Candles and glass lanterns added a warm light as the sun set. The villagers arrived, their footsteps crunching on the thawing ground. They greeted Clara and found seats around the tables, their conversations blending into a pleasant hum. The outdoor space filled with the sounds of talking, laughter, and the occasional bird song. The food was enjoyed, plates filled and refilled, and drinks were poured from glass pitchers. In the evenings, Clara still lit a fire in the large stone fireplace inside the lodge. The flames grew, casting a warm glow over the living room. She sat on the brown leather sofa, the soft light from the fire flickering on the walls. The room remained cozy and inviting, the scent of burning wood filling the air. Clara's paintings reflected the changing seasons. Her studio was filled with new works, each canvas capturing a different aspect of the landscape. The bright colors of spring flowers, the fresh green of new leaves, and the clear blue of the sky appeared in her paintings. The room was cluttered with brushes, paint tubes, and canvases, the creative process evident in every corner. As spring progressed, Clara spent more time tending to the lodge's surroundings. She cleared away winter debris from the stone path, revealing the smooth, worn stones beneath. She planted flowers in the small garden areas, their bright colors adding life to the landscape. The bushes along the path began to show new growth, their leaves a vibrant green. The village also showed signs of spring. The small park had thawed, the benches now inviting places to sit. The frozen pond melted, its surface reflecting the blue sky. Children played in the park, their laughter filling the air. The stone church with its tall steeple remained a focal point, its bell ringing out clear and strong. Clara continued to build connections with the villagers. Each visit to the bakery, the general store, and other village spots strengthened these bonds. She recognized familiar faces, and they recognized her. The village became an extension of her home at the lodge, a place where she felt welcomed